Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into something really special, a movement that's figuring out how to connect hyperlocal action with a truly global vision. It's all about building a new kind of community resilience, so let's get into it. So, let's start with a question that sounds a bit like a riddle, right? What in the world could possibly connect a tenant in the Bronx fighting for their rights with a young farmer halfway across the planet dealing with climate change? Well, the answer is this really unique model for change called Cohandy. But to really get what Cohandy is doing, we first have to understand the why. This movement didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's a direct response to some very real, very heavy anxieties that young people are facing right now. Let's just start with this one number, 33%. That's a full third of young people in the Philippines who say that the lack of entry-level jobs is their single biggest obstacle. I mean, think about that. It's a massive wall to climb when you're just trying to start your life. And it's not just about getting a job. As you can see here, climate change is a huge weight on their minds. That's 26%. And right behind that is the worry about being able to finish their education. These aren't just numbers on a chart, These are the challenges that are defining a whole generation. So the question becomes, how on earth do you even start to fix all this at once? Well, this is where Cohandy comes in. And their whole philosophy is pretty radical. Instead of seeing these as three separate problems, they see them as deeply connected. And to tackle them, they've developed this incredible approach they call sacred stewardship. So remember that 26% of young people worried sick about climate change? Cohandy doesn't just, hold a workshop. They act. In the Philippines, their Magat corridor strategy is all about tangible, physical repair work to build resilience against floods and droughts. And it's faith-rooted, which means it's all grounded in community values and a shared sense of purpose. Okay, so what about that fear of not finishing your education? Cohandy flips the whole idea of a classroom on its head. They created these modular apprenticeships where young people learn by doing. Repairing things in the community, advocating for your neighbors, that is the school. It becomes this living, breathing classroom. And to tackle that giant 33% jobs gap, Cohandy creates jobs that have real dignity. They've sparked this handyman movement where looking after buildings and defending tenants' rights isn't just a gig, it's a respected role. It's a stewardship position with a clear purpose. And this quote from a young Filipino, it just gets right to the heart of it all, doesn't it? This isn't just about another program. It's about taking that incredible fighting spirit, that hope, and channeling it into something real, something that actually builds that better future they're fighting for. So let's actually define this core idea, sacred stewardship. What does it mean? It's all about treating practical, hands-on work, like repairs, advocacy, even making a place more beautiful, as something meaningful, something dignified. It's turning a job into a role that builds a lasting legacy for your community. Now, this is where things get really, really clever. How does this super local, community-focused approach connect to the wider world? Well, Cohandy has figured out how to speak a global language, which gives their work incredible strategic power. Let's see how they build that bridge. So here we have the World Bank Group's 4 main principles for partnership. And yeah, they might sound a little like corporate buzzwords. Listen, co-create, build trust, deliver results. But this is a globally recognized playbook for how to do development work that actually, works. And check this out. This is the brilliant part. Cohandy's model lines up perfectly. For listen, they have actual ceremonial listening circles. For co-create, their training modules are built together with the youth. To build trust, they turn boring stuff like bylaws into rituals they call sacred protections. And for deliver results, the actual results, a repaired building, a defended tenant, become celebrated badges of honor. It's just genius. They've translated a global framework into a powerful community ritual. And the system itself gives people a clear way to grow. It essentially turns career progression into a rite of passage. You can start out as an apprentice, you work your way up to a steward, and you can eventually become an elder steward, mentoring the next generation. It's a true ladder of purpose. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, what is the Cohandy model, really? It's so much more than just a nonprofit. It's a whole new way of thinking about how we create change in our communities. So let's break down the key takeaways. First, the Cohandy model works because it reframes practical work as something sacred, a legacy. Second, it's so smart about connecting local needs to global frameworks. Third, and this is so important, it creates dignified roles that directly answer the biggest anxieties young people have. And finally, it uses the power of ritual to build the trust and resilience that communities absolutely need to thrive.
And that really leaves us with one final powerful question to think about. We're so used to thinking about solutions as, programs or policies. But what if the real key to building lasting community resilience isn't something you can just write down in a report? What if it's a new shared ritual that gives our work meaning and gives people a legacy worth building?